Hi folks, ready for a cool shop tour? Welcome to Demuth Tool Design.
Yep.
Adam, our host. We are in Central Ohio. This is his garage. This is awesome. And if this looks familiar, and more importantly, if that looks familiar, this is Adam from Superb Industries, which was such an awesome tour. It ended up being a really cool video that I think just so much cool stuff in that industry of stamping. Adam is now, you're now on your own?
Self-employed.
How long has it been?
Rolling up on 4 months now.
4 months, so still new?
Yeah, so still getting through some of the problems, but a lot of things to buy and systems to make. So.
But here we are.
Yeah.
Do you know the square footage of this?
190.
190 square feet, folks. So there's just no excuse. We're at his house, and in this spot, he's got a surface grinder, a Haas Mini Mill, and a pretty darn unique Mori Seiki NVD1500 DCG, which I'm going to let Adam tell you about because it's pretty amazing. Want to show us around?
Sure. My Parker Majestic Grinder. Mainly using it for relieving end mills, modifications on tooling. If I need a fixture that's very flat and parallel, because I'm trying to maintain good part parallelism, I can dust it off. But other than that, I don't really use it for customer parts, just support equipment.
Got it.
So.
What you would if you were in at some point in time? Is it because of the limitation of the shop size, or you don't like grinding?
It's actually a limitation of manpower. So in order to run this, you are attached to it.
Yep.
Where I can run 2 CNC mills and answer an email, or I could do only this.
Got it.
And so in terms of billable hours, I could do way more if I leave this alone.
Got it.
So I have to be very cognizant of the type of work I do if I want to see the amount of money I need coming in per month.
But this is not a luxury. You need this for you.
I could not do the work I do without it because a lot of the jobs I take on, I think other people pass on because there's not a commercially available cutter and they don't want to have to pay for a custom.
Got it.
So like I needed a very shallow T-slot, and so I was able to buy a Sandvik head, and you can see I just have it relieved.
No kidding, you ground that
5 thou.
Yeah, sure.
And it just puts a very small 280 thousandths relief, and that's the type of thing I need this around for.
Yep. So you're grinding carbide?
Yes.
I remember you mentioned that on the Superb Tour that these are somewhat unique in that they have that anti-backlash, or they.
Yeah, it's a belt drive. But the other nice thing is they're a wade machine, not a roller machine, so they're very stiff. When most grinders, you have to lock them in position, whereas this is so stiff. When I do my rotary grinding, I just kind of park it in position.
You park the no kidding.
I don't have to have any kind of table lock.
Wow.
So, very, very nice tool room grinders. But if I were to ever do higher volumes of grinding, I'd probably have to look at an automatic grinder.
Got it. And that looks like a diamond wheel because you're grinding carbide?
So these are a little different than the ones we ran at Superb. These are aluminum hub.
Interesting.
Whereas the ones we ran at Superb were phenolic resin.
Okay.
The problem with the aluminum hub, especially on a machine without coolant, is you can grow the aluminum.
Got it.
And you can shrink your part a little more than you expected to. So for the type of work I do, minimal stock removal, it's not a big deal. So you just have to be cognizant of it.
Did you get it with the DRO?
Yeah, it had that.
That's awesome.
And those Sony units are actually really good.
Yeah.
It's 20 millionths resolution. And most people know, how good a Heidenhain scale is, but Sony makes some very, very accurate scales still.
You don't think it's still a Heidenhain scale?
Potentially, but
the rumor I've heard
is they make all the scales.
Heidenhain makes all the scales.
But yeah, I've used those on a lot of machines, and they're nice units.
Yeah.
But
looks like the whole machine looks like it's in great condition.
I refurbished it.
Okay. Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, it was pretty rough paint-wise. Surface grinders, especially ones without any enclosure, you're blasting them with abrasive. And so it's hard to keep paint looking good on them. So this is an epoxy-based paint. So once it hardens, it makes for a pretty strong paint job. But so yeah, that's a fun little project.
What is the GS2? What's this guy?
So like Superb, we put variable drives.
Oh, that's right.
And that just allows me to tweak RPM, and we go over it in depth there, but it gives you a lot of abilities to beat heat or make a wheel retain form.
You mind sharing what you were talking about with that reamer?
Okay. I had a 1-inch diameter reamer, and it was running out of true.
Okay.
And causing some chatter issues, oversized issues, and so just being able to true that real quick and only knock a few tenths off of it.
Is it a solid carbide reamer or high-speed steel?
This was a high-speed steel.
Okay.
For the volume of the job,
it
was cheap and made sense. So just being able to true that concentric to the machine's rotation, all of a sudden gave me a much better hole, and I didn't fight hole size and tolerance. And little things like that are what kind of give me an edge.
And to fix that, you were grinding on the tenths off the cutting edge flutes or off the shank?
I took it off the flute.
You did?
But
I mean, you compromise the cutting edge?
Probably. It did.
But it worked.
But, after enough use, it's going to have a land there anyway.
Okay.
So I just helped it out and got it there first. We were doing 65 holes that way. Okay. It's not a production application, but little things like that allow me to make a tough setup a little easier. So, ultimately I am a tool maker by trade, so I tend to approach problems as a tool maker.
Got it.
Machinists would look at it a lot differently, and nothing's wrong with the way they do it, but when your only tool's a hammer, the world's a nail. So I tend to think of grinding as a way to fix things.
That's fair enough. Now that we've seen the grinding department, let's step over to the milling department.
This was our first machine. We bought this new in 2017.
Okay.
Had to really shoehorn it in. Small as it is, we still had trouble getting it under the door.
Was it hard to tell your wife she was never going to park in her garage again?
Well, you have to, you have certain compromises when you start your own business. So we're a one-car family.
Oh, okay.
Little things like that.
Yep.
And, that's what allowed us to start our own business, is we don't have a lot of personal overhead.
Yep.
And so for the first year and a half, we still were able to park in the garage. But once we bought the new air compressor, that's what squeezed me out. So I park on the driveway now. But no, it's for what I consider soft machining, details before they go into heat treat.
Okay.
This is a really nice machine for the size of parts I do.
It's actually funny when it's been a pleasure to get to know Adam personally, and we were sitting here catching up for a minute before we hit record, and he made a comment that I'd never thought of, which is in some respects a mini mill shares a lot of similarities with the tool room mills from Haas. And it's funny because it's such a different format size, but you're probably right that there's some spindle similarities and probably similar overall capability in terms of rigidity and so forth.
Yeah, I'm very happy with the way I optioned it. I had the 10,000 RPM spindle, the Renault probing, high speed. Every once in a while I kind of kick myself for not having the 20 tool magazine.
Okay.
But most of the time I'm doing a handful of tools and then moving on to the next part. So 20 would not be enough for the way I'd want to run it. I'd want 100 tools in it. So I would always be hamstrung by magazine size, but occasionally I get like a production job where I have to put it on the small machine because I don't have enough tool changes.
Got it. Yeah, so you got the HRT 160? Got it. Yeah, we'll throw a link to Adam's Instagram. If you're not following it, you absolutely should. But he did some really impressive modifications to the chuck face on that.
Yeah, so one of the problems with the mini mill is the table arrangement. You can only get the HRT 160 to about the center line of the spindle. So when you add a 6-jaw or 3-jaw chuck, you lose 4 inches of X travel.
Yep.
And this was made worse by the adapter plate, which is 1 inch thick, and so that was another inch of travel I lost. And I think all said and done, I had less than 12 inches I could have a part length if I wanted to do 4th axis work. So I got rid of the adapter and just made the mounting boss plug into the counter bores on the face of the faceplate.
Yep.
And now I can direct mount the chuck to the rotary table, and it's a lot more rigid and saves me an inch. And
did you have to do any work on the ID of that platter, or was it?
Well, no, that is why I wanted to go this route. So it's the original bore, and I just measured the locations and size of the 3 screw counter bores.
Okay.
Because the screw sits about 100 thou deep into that counter bore, and so it press fits into those screw socket head counter bores. And so Haas's supplied adapter, it has like a boss that plugs into the hole, and that chokes your through hole capacity down.
Sure.
So I think it was 1 3/8 inch with that adapter on. Now it's 1.5.
Got it.
And so little things like that make life a lot more pleasant. The few times I've done things from bar, that's like kind of like a Swiss lathe would approach it if it's a non-round part. That's a really, I'm getting better at that, and it's a really neat way to make parts.
Kind of a bar-fed 4-axis mill. But
And,
this has a taper, no? Oh,
no,
it's
no,
not.
no, that's just
Okay.
straight. So
Got
that's
it.
one of those adjustable chucks.
Got it.
So it just needs something to push against.
And some pretty cool, I mean, it's really cool. Like, this is the Sandvik modular head system, right? This is carbide or steel?
That's a solid carbide
That's
shank.
insane.
Yeah.
Is it pretty rigid?
It's very rigid. That really didn't make a lot of noise.
Really?
Yeah, it just kind of a nice hum.
That's cool.
So that's 8 diameters long.
Yeah. And a relatively large diameter regardless for a 40 taper light duty machine.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I was looking at it when I put it in, and you know, the the cut has more leverage than the holder does, and I was like, that could be a problem. But it did pretty well. So.
Interesting. Big Kaiser boring head.
Yep.
Cool. And these are hydraulics.
Yeah, those are the Shunk
Okay.
Tendos.
Got it. May I touch?
Yeah. I like them a lot for finishing, but I had a 1/4 inch one, and I had a little programming mishap, and it broke the shank off inside the bore, and it scarred the bore, and the shank couldn't be removed. And so I started thinking about that. You know, when you have something like that happen, even on a finishing end mill, you're basically out the entire holder.
Yep.
Whereas if you run a larger diameter with a sleeve,
Yep.
you're out a $70 sleeve. And so I thought about that a good bit.
You actually get more clamping power out of the sleeved ones as well.
Yeah, and that's the more I looked into it, what I've discovered. So, but those Shunks are just so hard to beat for the price.
Yeah.
And what I like about them is there isn't a collet to clean, a nut to clean. You just crank them loose, pop it out, pop it in. I think adding a sleeve, that
Adds to it.
convenience
Sure. Yeah.
starts to diminish.
It's something we've started to think about as we've been tooling up our UMC is, number one, just having the hydraulics for things like 3/8 and 1/2 inch tools, because sometimes you're changing to a relieved shank, to a solid, to a longer tool. It's just nice to have the hydraulic. Like Adam said, there's no collets to mess with. The runout tends to be quite good. The other thing that I love is on McMaster, there are we'll put a link in the video description, but they're carbide end mills, or excuse me, carbide drills that all have a 1/8 inch shank that then are tapered down to a nominal. He probably has some. And so now you can have one holder that's a 1/8 inch setup, and you've got all these different micro drill diameters ready to go, and you don't have to try to find the right tiny collet. Yeah.
That's one of those McMaster drills.
Yeah, and they're well under $20, maybe even under $10.
I think that was like $9.
Yeah, it's a great thing. I don't know why they're not more popular. But some pretty cool tools. That's a grooving tool?
Thread mill. That's
That is a
Sandvik's
thread mill.
single pitch thread mill.
Got it.
But you can put groove cutters in there or any odd thing you want. They have quite a selection. PH Horn, I think, is actually the manufacturer of that.
And it's rebadged?
Yeah.
That's
and,
funny.
So you can, same interface from PH Horn's catalog as well, which is a little bit bigger, I think.
And then a 415 high feed mill you were saying that you really like to run. It's an interesting point because you were saying it has a little bit less cusping due to the smaller diameter inserts. And it just tends to work better on smaller machines.
Now, I think the 210 is a 10 degree, whereas that's a 15.
Right.
So despite being a smaller insert, you could still get a 33 thou depth of cut.
Really?
Yeah, so
Wow.
I mean, you can, you're not backed off super far.
Got it. Well, when you think about using a high feed, is it for axial rigidity and higher removal rates?
So I use those if I'm hole making with a milling solution.
Okay.
Putting in big counter bores, helical plunges, I think they work really nice for that. And if I'm doing some kind of 3D work, I like to do like a Z level step down.
A roughing, like a waterline roughing with
Yeah.
those. Interesting. Okay.
They help me out a lot in that regard.
How do you program it as an adaptive?
I'd program as an
3D.
adaptive, but you treat that as a bull nose end mill when you program it. Like you would program it as a end mill with a corner radius, but you program the corner radius, I believe, as 1.5 millimeters, which is 59 thou.
Yeah, but it's not the corner radius. It has.
No.
Is there a calculator to figure that out?
No.
Okay.
You just touch side and bottom on your probe, and but certain times when you're doing 3D geometry, it leaves cusps where you don't want them because of that. But super useful tools.
Yeah, I like these. Those are custom.
No, those are actually off the shelf.
Serious?
Yeah. So
Wow.
those are for sun hydraulic cavities.
Okay.
And it's just like an SAE port.
Okay.
Which actually.
We'll step back into the inventory. Oh, look at this. This
Yeah.
is cool because this is what I was up in your neck of the woods today touring, was Allied.
Yeah, and I really like Allied. They're very nice people. They're good for the community. Unfortunately, a lot of their solid carbide stuff is they don't go small enough for my needs.
Got it.
But I mean, how cool would that be to have will call tool pickup 3 minutes from your house?
Yeah. It's literally like it's like 8 minutes from here, and it's I can't wait to release the video on that. It was, if it is out, we'll put a card to it because it was just amazing.
So yeah, that's an SAE port.
Okay.
Similar concept.
Asking for a friend, what's an SAE port?
Hydraulic face O-ring. So
Okay.
the fitting would have like an O-ring on it, and you screw it in.
Cool.
So this is creating a hole diameter for a tap.
Okay.
I believe those are 7/16 14.
Cool.
So
3 inserts then, huh?
yeah,
One.
2. Yeah.
There's 3, right? One, two.
Well, the drill and two
Got
forming ones.
Yeah. Cool.
And I'd never had much call for it, but the breakthrough drilling cycle, where it feeds down at the end, worked really well on this.
When it slows down, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you can get enough feed rate on the drill to break your chip, and then when the form started to enter the cut, you slow it down, and then it comes out.
Yep.
And I thought that worked really slick. So.
It's ironic. We actually had to use that because we bought one of their 1-inch diameter TA drills that's 16 inches long, and it would barely fit in the UMC to drill all the way through. And the same thing, we had to control and slow down on the breakthrough.
Yeah.
And Fusion had that cycle. I didn't even know it until I played with it.
It was the first time I used it, and worked really well. So I think I'll start messing with that some more. So yeah, that's the Haas. I run oil in that. That seems to catch a lot of people's attention. So
Which is new.
Yeah, I've had it in there for a little over a month.
Okay.
It's a Blaser product,
Okay.
GT15. So it's pretty much clear.
Yeah. Look at that. It smells great in here. I wish you could convey smell over YouTube, but
It does not have the smell issues that coolant has. And more importantly, my wife says I don't have the smell on my clothes when I travel home. Then on the Mori, also running oil.
this is cool. I mean, I don't even know where to begin with this machine. The accuracy, the fact that it has wood panels on it, the fact that you fit in a second machine in here, the spindle size relative to the tool holder size.
So the wood panels, I couldn't quite figure out what it was for, but I was taking it apart doing a detailed clean. The servo end caps stick out of the casting. And so this is all just to protect the servo, and they made like a nice little coffee holder for you. So the NVD series of machines from Mori, that was always kind of their flagship mold and die machines. And these, they started early 2000s with, and what I heard from a lot of people in that industry is what they're trying to go after was the flip flown mold market.
Oh.
Because if you think of, the two halves of a flip flown, they fit well inside the 6-inch travel window.
How much is the travel?
150 millimeters. It's not even 6-inch. So that's 5.9 and change.
Oh my
So it's
gosh.
150 by 150. And then I think I have 210 on Z.
A little bit more.
Yeah.
Barely.
So this part
Oh my gosh.
is more or less the travel of the machine.
Yeah. When I got here, Adam we were running this, and he had 50 a thou.
Yeah, I had to really kind of sneak it in.
A left to right clearance on this part.
The whole design concept was a super stiff frame and no cantilevered mass. So the frame's kind of like a gantry in that it arcs over, and then the spindle doesn't cantilever off the ways. It has a way on either side, dead in the center, and it's driven on either side. And the idea was, so if you're moving the spindle up and down on a profile like that, it doesn't have any kind of vibration when it gets to bottom or top, and it makes really flawless surfaces.
You're saying there's 5 glass scales on it?
Yeah, so it has a glass scale on each side of the y-axis and each side of the z, and then one in the center of x, and that's how it does its positioning. And those are 0.05 micron glass scales, which is 2 micro-inch.
0.05 micron?
Yeah, and so it's a very, very accurate machine, very tight feedback loop. And one of the other interesting things, it's thermally controlled and constantly cooled, but because its travel window is so small, even if you do have some thermal issues, you don't have as much ball screw to grow. You don't have as much way to grow.
Yeah.
So just, I think being that small really helps it maintain its accuracy. But it runs HSK 32E. So in HSK world, the number is the diameter.
Okay.
So this is 32 millimeter on
Yeah,
the body.
Inch and a half.
That's 1.259 inch.
1.259. Okay.
That's how I worked in automotive. And then the E is the high-speed format.
So it doesn't have the balance.
There's no notch, and
Yeah.
there's no anti-rotation feature for like spindle lugs. So it's just perfectly smooth all around, which
What's
because
the
of that.
spindle?
Spindle is 40,000, and
It's amazing.
that's actually a problem. It's difficult to find 40K balance tools.
Wait, cutting tools or holders?
Holders.
Ah.
The diameter's small enough, like in bigger diameter stuff, you have to worry about the assembly. When you put a tool in the holder, how's that balanced? Diameter small enough tools, I don't think that's a big enough problem for me to worry about. But like finding a collet chuck balanced to 40K is difficult.
Yeah.
A lot of things you can find on like MSC are only 24,000. So that was a struggle. I'm still piecing everything I need together. The idea is eventually I'm going to have a line of work where I do high-end hard cutting, and I'm starting to get a decent amount of clients. But I build those systems that I need. I buy the support equipment that I need on a learner machine, and then I transition into
Hardly a learner machine.
well, and then I transition into, when I have the base, I transition into a more modern machine. That being said, there really isn't anything I haven't been able to do with this. It handles, with its data server, it can handle pretty much any file I throw at it.
I was gonna say, you must be posting, I mean, if you're doing the scallop, the step overs, the code has got to be super long code, long run times, no problem.
So this one was 1 million bytes, but loads quickly and just cuts through it, no problem. I think I had a 6 megabyte file on it the other day, and I wasn't anywhere near having trouble with file storage. But yeah, so like the concept of the data server is the file never enters the controller. You're calling a file folder location, and it's reading it from that, kind of like drip feed, but pretty reliable.
So, but it's pulling in a buffer look-ahead amount into the control as it needs it. Okay, got it.
So, luckily, the control
Look at
swivels
this
out of the
thing.
way
This
on
is
this thing
incredible.
because I couldn't get to the side of the machine if I wanted
Hilarious.
to. So, side machines where you load tools.
I love it. This is
I've never had a machine with this before, and I really like it. While the machine's running, I can be throwing tools in for the next job.
It will let you. That's amazing.
Yeah.
How many tools?
30 tool.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
For this size of footprint of machine. This is
Yeah.
amazing. And what were you saying the stated spec accuracy is?
On a circular interpolation, it's 0.7 microns.
Across
so, I mean,
the work area? Or?
that was a 4-inch circle.
Yeah,
so, I mean, work area is only 6.
Yeah.
So, I
It's
mean,
incredible.
sub-micron machine.
You got to load it up, huh?
Yeah, and you could actually, this is the casting for the gantry support frame.
Yep.
And just how massive that is.
Do you know what it weighs?
Almost 6,000 pounds.
Yeah, for that
so
small.
it weighs more than the Haas.
Hilarious.
But a little tricky to move because the little things like the electrical cabinet, it's not attached for vibration purposes.
Oh, interesting.
So, you know, you have to be very careful how you lift it. So it's got shipping brackets, but you don't want the electrical cabinet to be unsupported.
Right.
And,
God forbid a card gets knocked
Yeah.
loose.
so this was my first used machine experience. Got through it relatively unscathed, no parts replacements, but like John just mentioned, I did have a card rattle loose in transit, and that was a pretty expensive service call from Fanuc. The expense wasn't the service call, the expense was me trying to do it myself for a week and a half. And so little things like that, you know, just when you buy a used machine, you have to expect a certain amount of that.
But you've been, how long have you had it? You're still, you don't regret it?
I bought it, I think we moved it in end of April. It took about a month to get everything up and running, tooled up. And so I've been running it since beginning of June.
Yeah, well, so really just after you started on your own.
Yeah. So 2 months of solid running on it, and I'm really pleased with it. I bought it for hard cutting, but I still have to put some production parts on that. I don't have much love for production work, but it's very lucrative, so you get over that.
You got to balance it, right?
Yep. But just doing the hard cutting has been fun. My old job before Superb, I just kind of messed around with carbide milling. Just did a little bit. And now that I have my own machine, I'm really pursuing that and doing a lot of carbide milling and carbide and hardened steels, and that's where I want to be. That's the type of work I want to be doing. So.
Can I show them this tool here?
Oh yeah.
I mean, this is the kind of stuff that's just a whole other level. Machining hardened tool steels or carbide with things like this. This is a 4 thou.
0.1 millimeter, so 3 thou 90 millions.
Yeah, 3. Yeah.
But,
I mean, we're not going to be able to see the flutes.
and that's for steels up to, I think, 68 Rockwell.
68 Rockwell.
Yeah. So, these are Union Tool, which I just started dealing with, but I'm very happy with them. Japanese made, and they distribute out of Minnesota, but really nice quality.
It's incredible.
But for the carbide milling, there's not a lot of players in that game. They're the primary ones. But I'm also doing some of the.
Look at that. This is carbide?
No, that's D2.
D2, okay. Look at them finish.
CBN finisher.
Actually, I'd love to see them.
So this is a work in progress. I haven't quite got this to the point where I'm happy with it.
The organization?
Yeah, so what it started out as is I see like 3 types of tools. Aluminum,
Yep.
ferrous, and then within that ferrous I have kind of ball profiles and finishing profiles and corners. So square, ball. So it's each size class, square, ball, aluminum.
Mixed in drawers, though, in the same bin.
No.
The
So
same
like
bin has this.
this is a 5/16. Everything in here is a square 5/16 end mill.
Okay, but still different EDP numbers, different
Yeah,
brands,
yeah.
different tools. Oh, that's strange.
It's not working.
Yeah.
So what I'm actually thinking about, one plate, bunch of holes, like UHMW plate, a bunch of holes in alphanumeric grid system, and then you have it tied to an Excel sheet.
Yeah.
So you pull tool out of E18, you look it up. Oh, okay, it's a Harvey this.
Right.
I think that would be. It would have good storage density. but more importantly, it'd get rid of the plastic cases.
I don't know if I want to do that.
I get annoyed by them. They pile up on my bench.
Yeah.
But so it's one of those things. Nobody seems to do it exactly what I want that I can emulate.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has something. But so yeah, that's the CBN
That's the tool
cutter.
that did that. CBN. So it's a
Yeah. So that was done at 32,000, and that's like a 4/10 step over. And that part, I had some mold work very similar to that. And I wanted to have something where I was going to be moving Z up and down to develop the smoothing settings on this machine.
Yep. Within the FANUC control, not within Fusion.
Correct.
Yeah.
And even on Fusion, there's some stuff when you're going for a finish like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I've heard a lot of guys, like, if you can do it file size wise, the lots of little points versus arcs. And that's what I've been doing on the last couple parts, and
Working out
pretty well.
The new the new steep and shallow, I believe, within Fusion has a point distribution option, so that you can have a higher density, but ensure that they're evenly spaced.
Okay, so give you like a nice aesthetic then. I haven't got to mess with that yet. Debating. I haven't had anything immediate need for it. I don't want to pay for it just to have it. But so
what would the runtime have been on a surface like this?
Oh, finishing was over an hour.
Yeah.
Like hour and a half, I think.
That's cool.
So yeah, I just, whenever I get a chance, I sneak something like that in, try to learn.
Yeah. Well, and it's actually been really fun because Adam was one of the first people that we kind of partnered with for Proven Cut to help us start building new recipes. And he's been great, not only because he's incredibly good at what he does, but these are probably two of the most divergent machines you could ever have out there. I mean, this is bread and butter, love it, great way to get started, and that is a Ferrari that, almost a one-off Ferrari. It's just incredible. They're not common machines, right?
From what I understand, they never had more than double digits come to the States.
Yeah.
Just very, very rare. But
I was laughing because in some respects, you start talking about the work envelope and the thermal elements of it and the tolerancing, and it kind of reminds me of a Kern that just got painted the wrong color.
Yeah, I think that's a fair comparison. They definitely went all out when they designed it.
It's the DMG spindle?
No, this was pre-DMG.
Excuse me, Mori Seiki spindle.
Oh, yeah.
I say them interchangeably. I shouldn't. Sorry.
And it may very well be like a Fisher or something. I've noticed, like, once you get into the high-speed realm, everybody's just buying a spindle. That very few people are building them.
Got it. You bought it used. You knew how many hours it had? Or
yeah,
condition?
It had 300 hours on the spindle when I bought it. So I felt pretty confident about that. But it had sat for a while because it was just like a research machine at Berkeley. And I think once they were done with that project, it probably sat for a few years. And so little things like airlines developed little cracks.
Yep.
So I replaced a lot of airline on this machine. One of the way wipers I think kind of hardened up over time, and so it's sealing, but it makes like kind of a squeegee sound.
Squeegee, yep.
And that's a little annoying. So kind of slowly working through upgrading things like that.
This is a Fordham tool style thing?
Yeah. A little bit more evolved. So this is NSK. Then you adjust speed like that.
Oh wow!
But this is where this tool really comes into handy.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow, that's slick.
I'm really, really particular about bench work. It's one of my favorite disciplines of tool and die making, and so I have an entire drawer for my benchwork tooling.
Holy
and so
cow.
I have
look at that.
cutters for each little type of thing I want to do, and so it's definitely an area I take a lot of pride in.
How do you take care of your files? Do you clean them? Do you have them chemically sharpened?
I have never messed with the chemically sharpened.
Okay.
In theory, it works, but I don't use a file card.
No.
When it comes time to clean them, I take a maple stick, which is like a common mold polishing thing.
Yeah.
You can load these with diamond compound and like get in single point polish areas.
Okay.
And I'll just kind of
just work out the
work it into the grooves, and really quickly you'll develop like a rake into the maple, and then it goes very quick.
Yep.
So that's how I clean them. If I'm doing a lot of filing, I'll chalk them.
What's that mean?
You rub a piece of chalk on it,
Yeah.
and that acts as kind of like a dry lubricant.
Really?
Yeah, and it also gets down in the crest and prevents metal from swaging. Like the V prevents metal from swaging in there.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Never heard. It's regular old
Yep, sidewalk chalk.
Yeah,
So.
no kidding. Huh. I'll have to go steal my kids. I don't.
At Superb, we kept a box of colored sidewalk chalk, and I
hilarious.
do that. Some joker put a piece of round of Maycore ceramic, and I tried it across my file, and it wiped out every tooth. So don't do that. But no, chalk's pretty effective for
It's funny.
prepping your file.
You don't think of something as chalk as any form of a lubricant?
No, but it kind of has like a graphite-like quality, I think,
Yeah.
and smooth, low
Yeah.
grit.
Huh.
So yeah, no,
Cool. Well, hey, before we wrap up, I'd be curious to see what's your been experience. What would your advice be? I know you thought long and hard about. You had a really good reputation with your employer, and you're out on your own now.
Yeah.
For folks out there,
don't jump if you don't have to. If you can step into self-employment, that's probably how I would recommend doing it. And that's exactly what I did. I gave Superb a 6-month notice, which they were very appreciative of. And now they're, one of my better clients.
Yeah.
And on top of that, like any job you have, just do that. Be good at what you do. Be polite to the people you work with, because I've worked in 4 machine shops, and now I have this web of people who went to other machine shops, and every single one of the clients I have, and I don't have many, but it's all people I worked with or former employers.
Yeah.
And so that's a good way to build your client list. And business-wise, keep your overhead low.
Yep.
Real low, like 8 foot. And you won't have too many sleepless nights. So
You gave them notice, and then by the time you had your last day at your employer, you already had some work lined up, and you'd already been doing work on the side. Perhaps.
Yeah, I had been working nights and weekends for. I gave them notice when I felt I had enough workload.
Yeah, exactly.
From other people besides them. So literally, I never missed a paycheck.
Good for you. That's awesome.
That was something I was pretty happy with. And then I don't pay myself much because personally we don't have a lot of overhead.
Yep.
But still, that felt like an accomplishment.
Yeah. No, it's been phenomenal. Like you said, I think you said it well. Step, don't jump.
A lot of people make the analogy, jump off a cliff and build the plane on the way down. It's like, why?
Right. No. Yeah.
There's just so many more peaceful options. So this is a lifestyle business. I wanted a little less stress in my life.
Yep.
And entrepreneurship was the answer.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm not sure that's. We'll see if that pans out, right?
Yeah, we'll see.
It's one of the things I think about a lot, and I will emphasize this to the last day I ever talk to folks, which is you can't start a business because you don't like your day job. That's not a valid reason. But not liking what you're doing can give you the energy to start thinking about opportunities and ways to pursue your own career. But what I will also say is, as much as I love what I do, I absolutely love it. Sometimes you miss having a boss. Sometimes you miss having somebody tell you what to do. Just say, I need you to do this. This is how I will measure you if you've done that. This is all you need to do. And when you're done, you can go home and watch Netflix, right? And no worry about it. And
one of the things I kind of struggle with is that Superb, we solve big problems. And now, you solve the main thing I have for production work. It's not really, if I stop doing it, it's not going to affect the world.
Yes.
So I don't feel like there's as much significance with my work. And, that kind of digs at you every once in a while. But then you get a big check in the mail and that all goes away.
It feels good, right?
Yeah, it feels real good. So.
Awesome. Well, Adam, thanks again for being a rock star on film and showing us the shop, and best of luck as you're growing your own business here.
About to bust out the walls, so I hope I don't grow too much more.